Roush Fenway Keselowski sweeps the two dual races at Daytona. Two races that were fairly tame until they weren't. Not because drivers seemingly couldn't make moves, more so because they wouldn't make moves. Let's talk about the duels. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove, coming to you live from the Daytona UNOH fan zone. I'm actually on top of some of the Cup Series garages right now. If you've been to Daytona, you probably know where I'm sitting. There's the front stretch right there, turn 4 way back there. So pretty cool vantage point. Things are starting to mellow out. The dryers have gone through, hopefully for the final time. I have a lot of thoughts about tonight's two dual races because they weren't particularly exciting. I think much of that has to do with the part shortage, which we're going to talk more about, until they were exciting. Like when Joey Logano did the most Joey Logano thing I've ever seen. God, he is becoming so predictable. Bad block on the last lap, totals his own car, and looked like he got a piece of his teammate Harrison Burton. We're going to talk about all that and much, much more. But first, this video is sponsored by my new friends at Black Rifle Coffee. Proud sponsors of Noah Gregson's number 9 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. Black Rifle Coffee is a veteran-owned business proudly serving military veterans and first responders. If you head to their website, blackriflecoffee.com, you can make individual purchases or you can sign up for various subscription services that will deliver great coffee and great products directly to your door. Visit blackriflecoffee.com to find a retailer near you and help Black Rifle Coffee reach their goal of hiring 10,000 veterans. Proud to have them as a part of Out of the Groove. Thanks to Black Rifle Coffee for sponsoring this video. So I have thoughts, like I said. Neither dual race tonight was particularly exciting. And I talked to a couple of drivers, not many, but a couple of drivers before the races tonight, and both of them said that they didn't expect a whole lot of action. They expected to either ride around themselves or that many drivers up front would not force the issue. One of the key talking points, one of the big storylines coming into this season has become the part shortage, the next-gen shortage, supply chain issues, material shortages. Teams do not have as many cars in their fleet as they would like to have right now. In fact, some teams have even said that the car they're bringing here to Daytona that they're planning to run the Daytona 500 with will make at least 1 or 2 starts out west on the upcoming West Coast swing. That's how dire things are. In some ways, it speaks to the versatility of the next gen, the fact that you can run a next gen car at a quarter-mile Coliseum, then outfit it to run a super speedway, then bring it out west to an intermediate. It does speak volumes, I think, to the versatility of the next gen, but it also highlights the key problem, the probably number one issue in the garage right now, and that is that there just aren't enough next gen cars out there. And a month ago, NASCAR tried to assure everyone that, it's a shortage, it's a concern, but like nobody's really in danger of missing any races. I don't think that's very true. It was clear tonight, based on what drivers said beforehand and how they raced in these races, with the exception of Joey Logano, that the part shortage, the car shortage, was very much on the minds of these drivers. Because here's the thing, yes, this is a new car, it's a new rules package as a result, but we saw when drivers really wanted to, they could make moves. Like late in Duel 1, you saw Chase Briscoe give Brad Keselowski a big push to get to the lead. At the very end of Duel 2, when Chris Buescher finally decided, hey, it's the white flag, let's make a move on Logano, he got to his quarter panel without too much difficulty. In fact, I'll give the second duel some credit. For the first 20 or so laps, the lead pack was side by side, door to door, ebbing and flowing. But both races eventually became single file, either around the top or around the bottom. The strategy, the entertainment, the competition really then came on pit road, where in both Duel 1 and Duel 2, the Ford teams seemed to be far more organized and seemed to execute much better on pit road and were able to actually separate themselves. Basically both races, once you got past the halfway point, the field was split in half. You had a lead draft of 5 or 6 cars and then a secondary draft several seconds behind of 5 or 6 cars. And really the final closing laps were, can that group catch them? Probably not. What will happen up front? That's really where the drama and action showed up. The races were boring. I'm just going to say it straight up. They were not entertaining. The last 4 laps of Duel 1 were exciting. The first 20 laps of Duel 2 were decent, and the last lap obviously had action. It was messy action, but it was action nonetheless. But most of the night, these were the kinds of races that only a team owner could love. Fans didn't have much to be excited about tonight. Drivers probably didn't have much fun out there running single file, but team owners were happy. Well, with the exception of Roger Penske at the very end. All right, I'm gonna stop beating around the bush. Let's talk for a moment about that final incident at the end of dual race number 2. Chris Buescher running second, Roush Fenway Keselowski already finding victory lane once tonight. He got a push from Michael McDowell coming off turn 2, right over there. I can see where he got the run right now. Went to the inside of Joey Logano, and predictably, Joey Logano threw a block. And once again, as he's done numerous times in the past, it was a late block. It set off a wreck. Thankfully, maybe not thankfully, but I'd say justifiably at least, Joey Logano, really the only car that got destroyed in this whole deal. He's the only driver of the group, I think, that's likely going to go to a backup. I'll have to see the replay again. I think Chris Buescher maybe got a piece of him afterwards. Harrison Burton, I believe, got some damage, which, again, justifiably, that's another Penske car. So at least the Penske driver only damaged Penske cars. But, you know, it was a bad move by Joey Logano. It's the kind of move that his former teammate, Brad Keselowski, often criticized him for. It's the kind of move I've criticized him for many, many times. Fans, every fan who's with eyes can see that Joey Logano's made this mistake a number of times. And even Joey Logano knows it. On his Fox interview after he was released from the Infield Care Center, he admitted, credit to him, he admitted it was just a bad block. He threw it too late. He thought the run was going to be slower. He didn't think they were going to get it at that point in the track. Thought he had room. He didn't. At least he admitted that he made a mistake. I don't really have any other thoughts other than this is just a black and white issue. You know, Joey Logano coming into the weekend said that he was going to be aggressive, that he wasn't going to race scared. That was his quote the other day. He lived up to that quote. He was not scared on that last lap. He was racing like it was the last lap of the Daytona 500, not the last lap of a fairly meaningless duel race. So his car was destroyed. They're going to go to a backup. It looks like they had a backup in his trailer, in his hauler, so okay, I don't think it's going to completely derail Team Penske, but that is going to be a story now over the next couple of weeks. I want to talk about a couple other points. I saw a lot of people on social media, at least, debating the speeds of the cars. NASCAR definitely slowed the cars down. I don't think they were hitting... We're going upwards of like 190 in the pack, which compared to last year or a couple of years ago, when they were hitting 200 on a regular basis, sure, the cars were obviously a little slower, but in person, I won't say it was as obvious as maybe it was as it was on TV. The cars were maybe a little visually slower, but not much. We're talking about 7, 8, 9 miles per hour to the naked eye. When you're talking about 190, 200, it's not obvious. I didn't think the lower speeds were really a story, so I don't think it needs to be talked about. Another concern, pit stops. This was the first race with single lug nut pit stops, real-time pit stop action with the new style. Didn't bother me. We didn't really see any 4-tire pit stops though tonight. I think everyone did like right sides only. So we haven't yet seen like full-on pit cycles consistently, but we got our first glimpse at what the new next-gen pit stops look like, and I gotta say, I barely noticed. Like, it sounded different, it looked a little different, sure, and I do miss the precision that it required to hit all 5 as opposed to just hitting 1. But there's still skill, there's still physicality involved. I think pit road is still going to be an intriguing element of competition. It's just going to look a little different. But it didn't take away from the viewing experience, at least not for me tonight. I'm trying to think of anything else to say. The big takeaway ultimately is that the part shortage is worse than we thought. I mean, if drivers were consciously driving scared, driving nervous, as they clearly were here tonight, that means that this is a serious deal. How long until this gets fixed? I have no idea. I think in many ways at this point it's largely beyond NASCAR's control. It's the real world, if you will, having effects on NASCAR Cup Series racing. This West Coast swing coming up is going to be really interesting because that's 3 straight races all out west, and I think a lot of teams are going to try to do it with only 1 or 2 cars per driver. Hasn't been done in years. That's not something that I'm used to seeing in modern Cup Series racing. Big teams reusing cars so frequently like that. We'll see if it holds up. I think NASCAR and the teams have to be confident that it will, but is definitely more of a concern than it was a month ago, at least in my opinion. One last thing I forgot to mention, Greg Biffle raced his way into the show tonight, so did Kaz Grala, and actually that was a good moment. On the last lap of dual race number 1, Kaz Grala, who got caught speeding earlier in the night, he got in the draft, he drafted with some fast cars and was able to catch up to JJ Yaley on the final lap and pass him in the draft to lock himself into the show. So the Money Team and NY Racing will both race in the Daytona 500 this weekend. I think both MBM cars missed the show, unfortunately, which, I mean, quite frankly, they looked way slower than everybody else this weekend, so it sucks, but it is what it is. Jacques Villeneuve, Noah Gragson, they're both in as well. This is crazy. This is fun. Greg Biffle in the main event. You know, that reminds me, as an old school Roush and Matt Kenseth fan, tonight was extremely nostalgic. I didn't see the Fox broadcast, but I know they announced during it that Matt Kenseth will be in the booth next week at Auto Club, which I'm excited for. I never would have thought Matt Kenseth would do a TV deal, even if it's just for 1 race. That's just, I never thought he'd do it. I don't know that he'll be any good. I think he'll be interesting. I don't know that he'll be good, but I'm excited nonetheless. But between that, both Roush Fenway Keselowski cars winning, the 6 and the 17, even with the little DeWalt sticker on the back, in victory lane at Daytona. Gosh, that's great. That feels so good. You know, Roush has to feel good about hiring Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski making an immediate impact with the team. That's great to see. And Joey Logano, who, you know, Joey Logano's grown on me the last few years. I still think he's over-aggressive, obviously. I've been critical many, many times, but, you know, my 2015 blinded Matt Kenseth fan distaste of Joey Logano has largely largely gone by the wayside. But still, Logano making a bad block and wrecking himself late in this race, it brought back some fond, nostalgic memories. I don't know how to describe it. Biffle in the show, this was a weird night. But I don't know, both races ended dramatically, but were otherwise largely anticlimactic. Those are my thoughts on the dual races. We've got Trucks, ARCA, Xfinity, and the Daytona 500 still to come this week. It's only been one day. I've only been at the track here for one day, and it feels like a whole weekend. Lots going on here at Daytona. Speed Week is living up to the hype so far. Thank you all so much for coming on this journey with me. That's going to do it for this video. Got to thank my Patreon supporters, as always. It's thanks to you guys I'm able to come out to the race like this and cover some things in person and share them with you guys, share my perspective with y'all. I really appreciate the support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It's free and it really helps out the channel. I will be back maybe tomorrow. I don't really know what the rest of my upload schedule is going to look like this weekend. As action happens, I'll be here to talk about it and share my perspective with y'all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you all again later this weekend. Daytona 500 is right around the corner. The field is set. Thanks for watching, y'all.